Hey everybody, welcome back to Christian Marriage Topics, where I speak to you straight from experience. Let's see, together with my partner over 26 years, married coming up on 19 years. I have a lot to offer from experience. And today's topic is going to be about marriage needs clear roles and order in order to thrive. And that is the topic. It is what it is. Marriage definitely needs clear roles. We in a time where people are a little, it's so liquid right now because just the way that the political background is set up when it comes to relationships and marriage is definitely not what it used to be. And it shouldn't, as far as like we're in a new time. But the one thing, no matter what time we are in, the Bible advice is solid in all times. So a lot of people say, we're not living in that time. We're not living in that time. We're in a different time. That's so true. We're in a different era. But does that really change anything? Really? I mean, it's just like saying your morals should change because you're in a different place, okay? You act a certain way when you're home with your parents, but then when you go off to college, you're supposed to do whatever you want because you're in a different space. No, it doesn't work like that. That's the one thing that sets us apart as far as our, Christ is the same today, tomorrow, and forever. His standards, his word doesn't change. Heaven and earth may pass away, but his word will always be what it is. So there comes a time when we just have to accept. It doesn't matter what era we're in, those same principles, that same foundation is the foundation that works. That's the only foundation that works. And that is the reason why a lot of people are experiencing so much turbulence, so much disorder, so much confusion and frustration in marriage today, because they're trying to change with the era. You can't do that. The word of God doesn't change just because the era and time changes. So those same teachings, those same foundations, they're just as valid today as they were when they were first written. And that's the one thing that we have to come to terms with. And it's not being old fashioned. It's not being like you're stuck in a cave and you can't come to the present. No, you could be very much in the present, but your foundation is still built on those foundational principles from way back when. You see, clear roles are needed for any field of profession. Clear roles. We see that when you go to the corporate office and they tell you to do something that's not in your job description. Boy, do we get upset. It's like, wait a minute now. When I applied for this job, it said I had to do X, Y, and Z. Now I'm in the door. You're telling me I have to do stuff that's outside of my criteria, outside of my range that I shouldn't be doing. It's the same. Clear roles must be identified, must be accepted. Like when you accepting the job, if you don't accept it, then you're not going to do it. So, I mean, if you're not going to do it, that's a choice. But we're saying if you want a marriage that has less turbulence, more stability, and has more strength to build upon, you're going to have to establish and accept the clear roles for each partner. Now, those roles can sometimes shift a little bit depending on people's personal talents and abilities. I understand that in every marriage and relationship, everyone is not equally able to do the same types of things, But we're just approaching it from a standard point of view because I can't speak from those situations that I have not experienced. I am speaking from my personal experience that I'm able, and my husband is able to do the traditional duties as a male, and I'm able to do the traditional duties as a female, which is caretaker of my children, manager of the house as far as caretaking it, looking after it, keeping it decently in order, educator of my children, homeschool, you know, and just treat for my husband, you know, always being available when he needs me intimately. I'm ready, you know, I'm ready. Whether I feel like, you know, that's something that I'm in a mood for, I don't want to make room for the enemy. So I'm always willing to like, okay, if this is the attention he needs, let me give him that attention. It's not always just about me. It's about making sure he's satisfied, whether he reciprocate that or not. That's another topic. You know, we have to learn that it is not always about reciprocation as far as like you perform only if they reciprocate. No, it doesn't work like that. Like it is unfair, yes, but you have to do the right thing even when you feel that it is not being reciprocated. So that means just because my husband doesn't do certain things, I still have to get up and care for my children. I still have to get up and educate my children. I still have to get up and make sure the house is clean. I still have to get up and make sure everyone is fed and satisfied. I still have to get up and just make sure that my house is in order. It doesn't mean if we both crash and fall apart and crumble, then it'll really be a mess. Somebody has to keep the cool. Somebody has to stay in their lane and do what's right. And eventually the railroad will go back on course. You see, the train will get back on its rail if you just continue to stay in your lane. That's not easy. It's sacrificial. That is what love is about. Love is not the easiness all the time. You know, obedience is not the easiest all the time. It's a sacrifice. It's crucifying your flesh. It's everything that, you know, it's suffering when you're doing right. It's suffering wrong when you're doing right. But bearing your cross, picking up your cross, carrying your cross, meaning you're sometimes unfairly punished even when you're doing right. And you just literally have to either accept that or not. It's not a forced thing. It's like you have to process that in your mind that that's a part of the journey, you know. So we are talking about clear roles. Like you have to know and he has to know what's expected. Communication is needed. Sometimes you should naturally know that. And sometimes you just need to know a biblical study about what generally was expected of each sex, the male, the female, and generally kind of use that as your guiding source. Will it always be concrete? Will it always be, oh, she has to cook? No, you may have a mate that absolutely loves to cook and that's what they love. Don't stop that and take that. But you have to know that it has to be their choice, you know, because, you know, like generally the woman rises up and provides food for her household. So you have to know I'm going to stand by whether I know how to do it or not. I'm going to learn how and I'm going to be ready to serve what I can. Even if it's the most delicious meal or it's not the most delicious meal, I'm going to do the best I can to bring that service to my family. If you absolutely don't have to do it, if he insists, no, I would rather do this, then that's one of them cases where it doesn't have to be concrete. But what I'm saying is you generally have to have expectations because that's how you know what's going to be done. He don't bother. He's like, okay, I know I can work a little longer because when I come in, I know I can depend on her that my dinner is going to be done. You see, that helps him operate in his role even better when he know what he can expect or not expect from me. Let's just say he's working hard. He's like, man, I'm starving, you know. I probably better stop working earlier because I know I got to fix me something to eat or I got to go order something because I know she's not going to do it. You know, at least he knows what to expect, whether it's not providing service or it is providing service. That definitely helps. And it goes both ways. I'm like, okay, I'm in the house teaching these kids. I'm in the house focused on food. you know, I expect that he's out making money so that he can be able to pay these bills that's coming up. I have to be able to depend on him to do his part so that I can focus clearly on doing my part. Is it shaky sometimes? Is it turbulent sometimes? Sometimes are one spouse or the other irresponsible? Yes. Sometimes it's one. Don't mean you give up. Let them know their role is expected and depended upon. They're going to have to man up or woman up and rise to the challenge, because that takes training. It takes maturity. It takes failing at doing it, and it takes them seeing the consequences. Sometimes the lights got to get cut off. I'm not saying that should be an acceptable thing, but sometimes they have to see the consequence of their failure. Oh, okay, I'm here taking care of the kids. I'm here like doing my part, and I'm depending on you to do your part, but we're in the dark. What happened? I'm doing my part, you know, and they'll have to see that, and I'm not going that extreme, but it can get that extreme, and we're talking about people who are married, who are generally in the right mind, that they have accepted some form of responsibility as a married person. We're not just saying some random person, that's not in a committed relationship. We're saying people who have been mature enough to accept that they're married and to accept that they have a role as a husband and a wife. And so, they know that they have their spouse have expectations for them. That's what we're talking about. So I just want to say, it is important to have clear roles. I do certain things. I expect him to do certain things. When it comes to maintenance of your work, I'll bend and do that sometimes, but that's a treat. That's a bonus. We expect him to do that. You rake the leaves, you cut the grass. Some women enjoy doing that. If you enjoy doing that, do it. This is not an extreme, like I'm a woman, so I must not do that. This is one of them things you have to have clear roles already known. Like that way, what he is accepting that you're going to do and what you're accepting he's going to do, so that you guys can flow better, knowing how you are able to depend on each other. You know the limits. Like, okay, I know that, he's going to cut the grass, but he never rakes the leaves. So at least you have that role expectation. If that's something that you don't want to do, then that's something you have to work on with him, saying, hey, I'm not doing that. I expect you to do this. I'm doing X, Y, Z. The point is, order is needed in a marriage. You can't just randomly spontaneous go through each day and it's just like, oh, we're living, we're together. No, it's responsibilities that always arise. It's things that come up consistently. So you have to have order. Order is needed in society. Law and order is needed in society. If we just let everybody, just run free and do what they want, then people clearly don't have a sense of boundaries. Boundaries are quickly broken. Boundaries are quickly, they're crossed. So order and roles are definitely some great pillars that will hold your marriage up and make it go smoother. Does it always go the smoothest? No, not promising that everything is going to be so happily ever after. But it will definitely make a tremendous difference when you have established, when you accept certain responsibilities as a woman and say, listen, I'm a woman. I'm going to make sure my toilet's clean. I'm a woman. I'm going to make sure that, my dishes and my stuff is clean, and I'm a woman. I'm going to make sure that my kids are nurtured and know that I love them. And I'm going to spend time raising them and teaching them the right values and morals and being an example, a living example for them. Things are expected from both people. But we have to come to a point where we accept our side and we perform our side, no matter if the other person performed their side or not. That's the key. Most people are conditional. Okay, if you don't do this, I'm not doing that. Now, sometimes you definitely need to set some boundaries, and it is a way to do that, to where you let them know, listen, no, you're not just going to totally walk over me and abuse me and totally abuse the situation because you see I'm holding up my part. You definitely need to set some ground rules as far as like stand up for yourself, in a sense that you're not allowing yourself to be totally exploited, and totally just taken for granted. But it's not to say that you're allowing that. It's just simply saying you're accepting your part as a woman. You're accepting your part as a man. You're accepting that someone, your spouse and your children, is depending on you to perform. If you don't do it, it's not going to get done. If it doesn't get done, then there's going to be some disorder. There's going to be things that crumble, that don't need to crumble. So we just have to come to the point that we accept clear roles are needed. Order is needed in a marriage in order for it to go smoother, to be successful, to grow. You need those clear standards. Thank you for listening. I hope that helped. And this is all advice from personal experience. 26 years together, and 19 of those years, almost 19 years married. I could talk about this subject more, but that's just something to at least plant the seed of the topic. Clear roles and order is needed in marriage. Thank you. Please subscribe. I share my advice, but I expect you guys to subscribe so that I could be rewarded for my efforts. Thank you.